Hello, all. We're just all getting in here. I'm going to go ahead and allow all the people in the waiting room in. Don't worry for folks worrying about recording. There will be lots of recording. In fact, I'll be sending out recordings after this. I am always curious as we get started and people start to get into the room here, who came the farthest or is staying up the latest for this little conversation we're having? It's 3 p.m. for me. I know it's not me. Croatia, 4 a.m. Okay, 4 a.m. is pretty good. 1 a.m. in Romania. Well, I hope you guys have some coffee. I will do my best to keep you guys awake. And we're going to have some fun here. I know we only have half an hour, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. And I'm really excited for that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started here. So our goal here today is to talk about AI agents. Can everyone confirm thumbs up if you see my screen? Great. So we're here to talk about AI agents. I will just say this is the hottest topic in 2025, and I'm sure you guys are all feeling that as you come through. My goal here is pretty simple. I want you to feel like this is demystified. I want you to feel like you understand what's going on with AI agents. You have a sense of what you could do to build with them, and you have a sense of why they matter and how they can be practically applied where you are, where you work, where you play, etc. And so to that end, I'm going to give you like a little one sentence tidbit before we jump in that defines what an agent is, because there's been a lot of confusion as people have gotten more and more hyped up about what exactly an AI agent is. An AI agent is very simply a AI large language model that makes choices on your behalf. It makes meaningful decisions of some form in a defined scope, which means like in a defined area or space. And that's really it. Now, you can extend that and say, well, sometimes the thing that's making the decisions isn't a large language model, it's a different kind of AI. That's okay. We can talk about that. But for simplicity's sake, it's really, does it make decisions? Is it in a defined space toward an objective that you set? And that's it. That's an AI agent. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to use Lindy today, and I will get into why in a moment. I'm going to run the slides first. I know most of this is more practical, so we're just going to get through our slide piece real quick. We're focusing on launching an AI agent without code today. It's certainly possible. I actually explored multiple different ways to do it. I will showcase a couple of them as I go through and then show you why I picked Lindy for this demo, because I want you to have a sense of the range of the space. Lindy is really handy because it puts you right into a focus on the outcome you're driving. You can see in the screenshot here, hey, I want to take notes in a meeting. I can just go right there and the template is right there and it's super easy. Other tools that work really well don't necessarily have that ease of onboarding. And so those pre-built templates are super helpful. I will also say that workflow design is super intuitive. This is something that is a larger blueprint for agent design. You want to think of it as every agent has a trigger of some form, every agent has something that it thinks about or decides, and then every agent makes a choice. An example that is certainly beyond the scope of what we're going to build today would be, let's say you're building an AI agent for customer support. And what you want to know is, should the customer support rep that's on the phone with the customer issue a refund? And so the AI agent's job is to listen to the call and to look at the policies that you have for refunds, to look at the customer's purchase history, and to make an intelligent recommendation as to whether in this situation the customer should have a refund. The trigger incoming is the customer call. The thinking is what happens when the agent thinks about all of that material I just named, and then the action is the recommendation on yes or no. Should I refund? Should I not? You can get every single agent into those three buckets. And when you build systems of agents in more sophisticated environments, you can actually build them so that they are cascading off of each other. So if I were to build an agent system that is asking for an overall assessment of what I should pack when I go to a new city, one of the sub agents might be checking the weather. And that subagent could be triggered when the master agent says, okay, I'm building a packing list, I should check what the weather is like in Chicago in May. And then it would go and like look and see. And so this principle scales. It scales not just for individual agents, but it scales up into chains of agents. Optimize and iterate. So one of the things I really appreciate about Lindy is that it makes it very easy to mess with things and change them. You have a chat window here that I am showing. I will also show you when I get in there that you can look at the flow editor and you can edit the flow directly if you so choose. And it's also very easy to version. So you can try something and then you can roll it back, and that makes it really intuitive. One of the things we talk about when we talk about agents that are more than just personal agents, agents that would be built for like the customer success use case that I talked about, where hundreds of calls a day might be coming in, you need what we would call evals. You need tests, you need evaluations that enable you to see if the agent is doing a good job or not. And so it's really, really important in these situations to have the ability to test and see if it works and then roll back or roll forward. As an individual, as a person, you know intuitively it either works or it doesn't for you, but you need to scale that understanding when you work at a larger scale on a whole team or rolling out a service across a whole business, et cetera. And so one of the things that I want to call out is that you have what is essentially a small version of that here in Lindy, and the larger version is something that you can address through more complex tooling. Last but not least, Lindy is surprisingly scalable. You can do a bunch of parallel agents. You'll see some of mine when I hop into the tool. It absolutely can clone itself, so it's easier to do repetitive outreach. And it does make it really easy to drag and drop and build new ones. These are the slides I've prepared before I get into some of the demo stuff. I know we don't have a ton of time, but this is your chance to ask a question on the slides. I'm going to leave room for about 2 questions, and then we're going to keep moving into the rest of the demo. So 2 questions. Anyone have a question? You can just go ahead and raise your hand if you have one, and if not, we will keep moving. And I cannot see the chat, so if you have questions in the chat, you will have to unmute yourself. I am looking at a screen. Yes, Sandy, go ahead.
Is it reasonable to think of these AI agent groups like microsystem architecture, where each one is doing a different part for the final outcome?
That's not a bad way to think about it. A lot of the way we think about agents ladders up to something like microsystem architecture, except that we have the added complexity if there's a large language model in the middle where there can be probabilistic decision making effectively. So that gives it a little extra flavor and fun, but it's kind of the same concept. Does that help?
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. One more question. Anybody want to be brave? I don't bite.
Yeah,
Wow.
I
I
There's
got
can't
a
be that clear. There you
there's
go,
a
Brandon.
question in
That's
the
the question.
chat about N8N. You talking a lot about N8N, and then as you roll through from sort of a development environment, sketching out notebooks in N8N, what do you see as the production tool or the alternative as you mature in your process or your agent development?
Yeah, I actually think that it's a fairly nice segue to the next part of the conversation here. I do talk a lot about N8N, and the reason I'm not demoing it here today is because it is vastly easier in a 30-minute time frame to demo something that is easier to put together and pre-built from a template. I think if you are trying to learn the skill of building agents, and I will go ahead and switch my screen, N8N is something that you should learn long term. So fundamentally, it scales from no code to code. It is really handy as a growth tool. It helps you to lay out in much more detail what your AI agents can do. It is also not as beginner friendly and not something I wanted to sort of put everybody through in 30 minutes. It takes some time to learn. The way I think about this is Lindy, which I will be showing you, is sort of like a little Lego kit where you have all the instructions and it comes pre-built and you can just kind of look at it and put together Legos really quick and say, I'm good, I'm done. And this is more like you need to understand how Legos fit together so you can build what you want to build out of the Legos, which I think is a super healthy practice for AI long term. Now, getting to the question that Jim voiced, if you want to go beyond this, where you actually want to build scaled implementations, if you want to build at Fortune 100 scale, those companies are building on LangChain and LangGraph. And part of why they're doing that is if you look behind the scenes at LangChain or LangGraph, you get audit trails and agentic evaluations that are much, much more sophisticated. You have a whole tool bench just for understanding how your agents handled particular calls or traces and evaluating them effectively. And so if you get to true enterprise scale, you're going to something like LangGraph or LangChain in order to deliver on that. And this is sort of the intermediate stage where it could be appropriate for an organization. It's also something where individuals can learn it and employ it as well. Does that help sort of answer the question?
That was a question from Kate Hall, and I think it does, or at least to me it does.
Yes, this is me, Kate, and yes,
Sorry.
thank you. Was having some difficulty with my unmuting. Yes, I
I'm
think
glad.
that was really helpful.
Good. All right, well, let's get into Lindy. I want to show you a demo that will make you chuckle to start. So this is an actual Lindy agent that I got. It's called the Marketing Focus Group. And what it is you basically get a digital focus group that will assess and revise your marketing copy. And I decided to have fun. So I said, please provide a focus group assessment of a new running shoe campaign with the tagline, just do it. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to see what it would catch. And it immediately calls out, this running tagline is take it. Like, you should not do this, which I thought was great. That's what I wanted the agent to say. And then it went through and it actually gave me scores. It gave me personas. And it gave me like basically an entire simulated focus group conversing back and forth as you go through. And you'd think it would just sort of spit out the results, but it went farther and eventually it produced something that amounted to a finished product idea. And so if you scroll all the way down here, because this is a long output, I wrote one line and I got all of this. It recommends AI-powered shoes that adapt to your unique stride. That's basically a product idea. And I said, well, AI-powered shoes are dumb. That doesn't really exist. But then I looked at it and I realized that, like, technically speaking, I could imagine building this. And I thought that was really interesting, is that basically I didn't set out to use this agent for product ideation, but now that I've played with it and I've started to understand what it does, I get a sense of the actual capabilities that they've built behind it and how I can use it in practice. And so going forward, sure, I'll probably be using it for some marketing focus, but I'll probably also deliberately be prompting it in ways that I think will drive marketing ideation as well. And so that underlines for me one of those basic principles with both agents and AI, which is you've got to use it to learn how it works. And the more you use it, the more you will learn how it works. And there's sort of no top slope that I've found to that. I still learn new things about how the AI works by continuing to use it all the time. And so that's part of why I'm encouraging you to get into Lindy, because I really believe that having an easy ramp into agents gets you using them more, which then gets you learning. So if we go into Lindy, I want to give you a sense. People sometimes say, well, what can an AI agent do? An AI agent can do an awful lot. Like, this is an example of hundreds of pre-built templates that Lindy just provides out of the box. You can get customer support emails done. You can look at voice of customer. I always am a fan of those. You can have Lindy copied on your emails, and like a real executive assistant, they'll help schedule on your calendar. You can get into knowledge retrieval and look for answers in documents. You can chat with a PDF. You can look at how you can turn newsletters into tweets, so it sort of condenses things into sort of viral messaging. You can talk with your meeting notes. You can talk with YouTube videos, which is always handy. I sometimes find that YouTube videos can be very long and there's a nugget in there and I want to get at it. And so you can do that. I tried the calendar audit and I found that it was super helpful. What it did was it analyzed my whole calendar and then it grouped it by category so I could see where I was spending my time. The thing took about 1 minute and I saw a whole picture of my week. It was super handy. So we have a bunch of these here and I want to just step in to a new agent here so you get a sense of how relatively easy this is. So we'll do chat with PDF. So I'll add that in. Ta-da, you're all set to chat. Like that's how quick it is. So if I hit continue, I love this. This is great product affordance. It gives you a little confetti and makes you feel encouraged. And I will go ahead and I will grab a PDF that I can pull in, and I will say, tell me about this PDF. And this is an actual ArcSiv autonomous AI agent PDF. And so I thought, why not pick something on brand and about AI agents for us to interrogate here? And here it is. It's giving me the paper points out of this. This is a widely cited AI agent paper, so I thought it was worth diving in a bit. It talks about how Agent Q uses Monte Carlo tree search to improve agent performance. What's Monte Carlo tree search? Let's just sort of follow our curiosity. Come on. It's working. It's thinking about maybe answering. There you go. Yeah, it's explaining how to use it. It's giving you the math. It's giving you an expansion. It's giving you how it works in detail. So basically, it doesn't have to be a scientific paper, but I will say one of the things that is really complicated right now is that a lot of the really interesting work in AI is coming out in these super dense PDFs like this, and it can be difficult to keep up. It can be difficult to follow. And so having a handy agent like this that allows me to just sort of chat with a PDF and get a sense of what's going on is really, really helpful. Another one that I found helpful, and this is again around sort of the theme of saving time, I can basically add podcasts that I wanted to follow, and it will trigger every single week, and it will give me a summary of the podcast episodes the prior week. So Claire started a new podcast yesterday. It added her in. It found out that she didn't have a recent episode because it was brand new. And it just added her in and said that it would check for it every week. CXO Talk is a much more established podcast. And so I added that one in, and it actually went through and it said, okay, I found it. I also found a recent podcast. Let me automatically transcribe it for you. And so I got notes on how it worked. It happened to be all about AI agents. And I swear I don't always plan these things. It's just like in the water. And I got to see like basically a readout that takes me, I want to say it take me about 3 minutes to like scan through this. And that's much faster than working through the whole podcast. And I can get a sense of what they talked about and dive in if I want to. So there's lots of ways to do this. I think the exciting thing for me is that you can find ways to use these agents that aren't necessarily expected. So as an example of that, if you are looking for talent in this market, you might want to effectively use an agent like a lead generator. Now, traditionally, that would be a sales agent, right? Where you find leads and you want to sell to them. Well, in this case, I actually wanted to find candidates and see if I could use it a different way because it's effectively a search. And so I went over here and I basically said, okay, let me find, it gave me an example. Okay, let me find some senior PMs based in Chicago. Let's see what goes on here. It tells me that it met the condition. It tells me that it can perform the search. It then does the search. It creates a list. It asks me to connect my Google account, and it produces the list in a Google Sheet, but also prints it here. I did check. These are real people. They're not hallucinated. And I think that's pretty cool. I think one of the things that I would call out is that you can look at it and run this entire AI agent thing without ever seeing the flow. But you can go to the flow if you want. And so most products that talk about agents, they put you right in here. Like if you went back to N8N, you'll recall that we talked a lot about like agents and flow building, and on their homepage, they have something like this. They have this whole flow that you go through, right? Like you can look at it. Here's your whole flow, right? Like build this whole flow. Well, that's all in here. You actually can zoom in and you can see the if statements. You can see the sort of how it's building it. You can see the tasks that it's doing. You can edit the task. You have the little bullet here. You can add a node if you want to make it more complicated, but you don't have to because they pre-built it for you. And so as a product person, I love this because it means that they have taken real complexity, they've made it transparent so you know it's there and you can touch it if you want, but they've made it so you don't have to. They've just stuck it behind a little screen there so you can look at the outcome and focus on what you want to accomplish. And I think that that's a lovely piece of product that I haven't seen done well in a lot of other cases. And I think it does make iterating much, much easier. All right, I've talked a lot. I want to see if there are any questions. I see that chat filling up, so I suspect there are. Yes, David, go for it.
Hey, Nate, love your TikTok channel. Great stuff that you put out there.
Cool.
Thank you for doing it. I'm just curious about what LLM is underlying Lindy. Are we talking to GPTs, someone else? What's the transparency on which LLMs you're interacting with?
That's a great question. You can look it up in their documentation. I don't think I'm going to do it here, but they will tell you a little bit about what they're using, and they will obscure some of what they're using. And part of the reason for that is not just to be mean and nasty. It's partly because LLMs are changing so fast that it's really difficult to be current because the next model drops and changes the token cost curve a week later. And so part of sort of the world I've reconciled myself to is that I either live in a world where I can audit the entire stack, and that's a lot of work, and you can do that with like a LangGraph install or a LangChain install, and you know exactly what you're calling and when, but you're also responsible for the whole token curve. Or you can live in a world where you get a lot more convenience, but you trade down some of that transparency potentially. Verity, I think you're next.
Hi, Nate. Thank you for running this. It's been awesome. So I work for like one of those like corporate SaaS companies that, have sell you everything, but have the actual slow, clunky tech internally. And so I've been trying to figure out a way to like optimize the way that I work. And I think this looks awesome, but I'm also kind of curious as to how you would see potentially something like Lindy, like I'm kind of trying to reconcile, like how could I build this, use this, probably pay for this myself, but then like I might need to connect in with systems to give it the right information, like a CRM or the customer service tool. Like, do you see a world where I guess I as an individual contributor can leverage these tools as an individual without kind of needing to integrate to those systems that we use?
People are doing this in all kinds of ways. I will say, like, it depends on sort of the responsibility of the system. I believe Lindy is SOC 2 compliant. So if you're looking at security from that perspective, like they've passed their pen tests and they're sort of a responsible citizen in that regard. I think that the way people deal with the data problem is a function of, frankly, the degree of need they have to speed up their work, the slowness of the organization around them, and their willingness to do whatever it takes to go a little bit faster. And so I've seen people go as far as taking pictures of their screen at work and like extracting the text through an OCR and like pulling it in that way. I've seen people who will just sort of pull stuff into a Slack and use the Slack as a copy paste and pull that out. So it's clunky, but people are finding ways to do it because the benefits are so high. And I think it's really interesting how that benefit calculus has changed the way we work in the last, call it a year and a half. I was telling a friend, like I used to spend a lot of time composing text, and now I spend a lot of time complaining about the fact that I'm volleying text back and forth, but I wouldn't go back. Like it's a net benefit to me to do what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's helpful. It's like there will be some clunk, but at the same time, like been using ChatGPT and like paying for the premium there, and it's been great, but it doesn't have that like agentic experience. And that's where I'm like, do
not
it
in
for
this.
me. Awesome. Thanks, Nate.
Yeah, for sure. Michael, go for it.
Yeah, Nate, thanks for doing this. Calling in from Washington, D.C. So your showing us agents that are kind of in an agent store, right? Like a library of agents. So two questions. One, can I create my own through this tool?
Yes.
And number two, can I migrate those tools as I become more proficient in building and I move up to N8N or whatever the next thing is that's more sophisticated and better matched to my needs?
You can build it yourself. I just opened it up. You can go all the way through and build your own flow. And actually the Lindy team is really good. They will actually set a call up with you to build you a custom agent yourself. So if you want something custom, they're pretty good about that. I will say, I will not, like, this is not a paid advertisement for them. I do not believe they are very good at letting you back out the door. And I don't know of any SaaS business model that is incentivized to let you back out the door once you start to build agents inside the house. I see Verity chuckling. You know how SaaS works.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, goodness. Dio, go ahead.
Hi, yes, thanks, Nate. The question is, at what point do you recognize what level of scale that you have to go to get to the next product? Like,
That's
how do you
great.
get to the level of limit of complexity where, okay, now we've exceeded the capabilities of this tool, and then it's time to go to something else?
I'm going to give you a really simple rule of thumb, but I actually think it holds up pretty well. If you are one person and you have on the order of 10 agents to mess with for yourself, I think Lindy is by far your best choice. Unless you're looking at learning agents as a goal to grow, and that's a different thing. If you are a team and you are looking at rolling agents across any kind of software stack where they have to work at scale, say for 1,000 customers, that's very much an N8N kind of use case, and it will scale down to the individual, but the efficiency is there for something that's a little bit bigger. And if you are looking at a scale where you have 100,000 customers, I would do something like LangGraph or LangChain. Like I would do something where you can control the entire stack end to end with a really high degree of granularity, and you're putting an engineering team against it, and that's how I would do it.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Hector, go ahead.
Nate, just wanted to dovetail perhaps a little bit on that previous question. What about in the situations of solopreneurs and the level of teams you can build, say C-suite level teams that are also concerned with questions of culture and ethos inside your, organization or corporation that have to deal with not only cultural but more complex things? Do you see this as a tool for that
No,
as well?
I will not. I will not sugarcoat it. Lindy is not designed. Lindy is designed to make knowledge work go faster. Lindy is not designed for super interesting, experimental, like long intent over time, collaborative agent use cases. People do build those, but they don't build them here. And I know founders who are working on them, and they all end up sort of rolling their own. Brandon, go ahead. We'll have one more and then I'll close out.
Hi, yes, I have a question about how this could be related with MCP servers. Like, how could we connect these agents to internal tools?
N8N will tie into MCP servers. LangChain, you can tie into MCP servers. I don't think Lindy plays super nicely with them because it's not like in the simple use case bucket, but you can definitely do it. And you know what, Kate, why not one more question? We'll let you be the last one.
Okay, awesome. Mine is kind of a follow-up on the C-suite kind of executive level piece. What would you recommend for setting up what Hector was talking about with that higher level work where you can create a more robust knowledge base that would allow you to get into that? Would that be like an N8N?
I would do LangChain for that because you have to be able to construct your entire stack end to end. Because like you have to think about how you want to preserve long context, like how you want to build your RAG store, how you want to sort of build system prompts and sort of guide agent interactions. And I would assume you want very high quality interactions, which means you want a high quality bench to like look at and trace agent interactions. And that all points to LangChain for me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, that is the time that we have, guys. I wanted to let you know I am doing a whole course on this. I want to be really open about this. I've been told to be more open, so here I am being more open. This is really for people who are vibe coding. I know people sometimes hate it. I know people sometimes love it. But to be honest with you, the reason I do it this way is because even if that is not what you want to do with your life, it is a phenomenally efficient way to learn AI. It is, in fact, the most efficient way to get better at AI that I have found. And people sometimes look at me funny and say, well, I don't want to do it. And I say, well, that's fine. It's not up for you. But like, it's incredibly efficient at teaching you how to be good at AI. Yes, Verity, go ahead.
The QR code is deactivated.
Oh, well, that sucks. You know, the convenient thing is you can look up AI Career Accelerator on Maven and you can find it. It's
Beauty.
easy as that. So you can
Cool.
just go there. I will go there now. See, there it is. Ta-da.
Okay.
Super easy.
Amazing.
So there you go. I will check my QR code better next time. It worked like a month ago. Thank you all. Cheers. Have a
Nate.
great
Really
Thank you.
appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Nate.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.